Welcome to the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Series podcast, the show that gives you the inside scoop on the news, people, and events of the Ultimate Streetcar Association, the most friendly and professional grassroots motorsports organization in the world. I'm your host, Rob Kibbe, here with our Ultimate Streetcar Association co-founder, Hollywood Jimmy Day, and special guest, and most handsome guest, Cameron Foremaster of SpeedTech.
Well,
Welcome,
thank
fellas.
you. Thank you so much. I don't know about handsome, but I'm happy to be here.
So Jimmy and I have done this for a long time.
Yeah.
We're not dumb, Cameron. Cool hair, sweet beard, and a real setup.
Yeah, and since we've gone to video now, we literally ask ourselves who are some of our better looking interviewees that we can get on, because it helps us, right? We figure it's
you can always go to B-roll if you have to.
yeah.
So this is a special edition of the show. As the series kicks off here, people won't know this, but we're recording this a day before the event in Texas here. But Cameron, we wanted to have this on. Obviously, SpeedTech's had a long time relationship with Ultimate Streetcar, but we'll start with you, Cameron. Who are you? Where do you live? How long have you been at SpeedTech?
Yeah, so I live in Utah. So SpeedTech's based out of southern Utah. I live in a small town away from the big town of St. George, which isn't that big. Yeah, so I've been with SpeedTech since 2019, so I'm coming up on 7 years at SpeedTech, which is crazy to think. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's really interesting to see how everything has within the industry over these 7 years has changed, because we went through COVID and we've went through, a lot of political bullcrap and things like that. So, it's been interesting in these 7 years what I've been able to do. I've been in the car world, not professionally, my whole life, right? Some of my earliest memories are going to car shows with my dad and restoring vehicles with him. I think I was 12 when we started to restore a 66 Chevy that was his dad's. And it's a very special project to us. It'll never go anywhere. And so I've been around cars forever. I've been in marketing forever. So when the stars lined up that I could do marketing with cars, I asked them to twist my arm just a little bit, so that I had to, resist just a little, and then I jumped on board. So super happy to have been here.
Are you a native of Utah?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting right now, I'm about 5 blocks from the house I grew up in. So
no fooling.
Yep. I was raised on a farm in southern Utah. Big, not big compared to some, but my whole town that I live in is literally a mile long and it's a mile square. And the north side is basically our whole farm. So we had, a couple 100 acres combined over there. And so I wouldn't change it any other way. So
what were you doing in marketing prior to SpeedTech?
I haven't told a lot of people in the industry this, actually, but the guy that I worked with owned multiple brands, multiple companies. So one day I would be doing marketing for a tire store. The other day I was making how-to videos for gel fingernail polish. So
interesting.
So now I'm going to get made fun of for that, but that's okay. But yeah, so all sorts of different marketing within that. And then I transitioned into a mentor role in a therapy program that was designed to basically help adult men be adult men. And my role with them was a life coach, teaching job skills, teaching how to interview for jobs, teaching how to market yourself, basically. That way you can progress your career the best way possible.
This is the day and age.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, Cameron, but there's a generation here that has not had the opportunity to be forced to do a lot of one-on-one interactions.
Yeah.
And it's like lifting weights. If you don't do it, you don't get the result. And most of us don't want to do it, but we do want the result.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, exactly what this program, I mean, they actually had a syndrome called failure to launch syndrome. It was a classified thing, which was funny because there was the movie 10, 15 years ago about it. And yeah, so these guys had failure to launch syndrome and didn't know how to. I mean, we had people who were literally teaching these guys how to do their dishes and wash their clothes. So,
Wow.
yeah, as adult men. So it was a good program though. I was happy for my time there. It really taught me a lot as well. But when the opportunity with SpeedTech came knocking, I was more than happy to come on board. So.
Yeah, that's got to feel a bit like a marketing car guy's dream to have an opportunity, and especially to have an opportunity where you are, right? Because let's just say Utah is not a hotbed for the high performance automotive industry, right? And to be there in St. George, local to you, where you can be near your family and where you grew up, man, what a great opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And I had known SpeedTech from the local car show market and world, seeing all these cool muscle cars and seeing Rogers Camaro and things like that. And so I had known who SpeedTech was, being a fan. And like I said, when the stars aligned, I said, this is perfect. This is great.
Yeah. So you've been at SpeedTech now 7 years, and a lot has changed at SpeedTech in those 7 years, right? Kind of walk us through a little bit of what changed from 2019 SpeedTech to 2026 SpeedTech, and how you've kind of managed that process.
Absolutely. So, SpeedTech saw incredible growth, through the COVID years. We weren't sure what was going to happen, I think, like most people in the industry, but we continued to grow substantially, and it lined up to an acquisition through QA1, and that was 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago. It started in 2024. So QA1 out of Minnesota, they're a big company, and I used to be a competitor of them, right? And so I personally didn't know how big of a brand they are, but they're massive. They are a huge brand. And so when they were looking kind of to get into the chassis game, and the previous, founders of SpeedTech were kind of looking at semi-retiring, and so the worlds just kind of lined up, and we partnered with them, and we've done a lot of growing and a lot of transitioning since then. We have a 30,000 square foot building in St. George that we've outgrown. And so QA1 is so good at the manufacturing processes that we moved to a 100,000 square foot building in Minnesota as far as our manufacturing. And that just happened this last winter. And so we're still kind of in the pains of the transitions there. When you move your operations across the country, that's difficult. Not gonna try to paint it there hasn't been some hiccups along the way, but things are, orders are going out, things are going out great. We just had a great customer feedback yesterday through our email, really talking about how well the process went for him, which was, it was good that we were able to get that feedback, because he was kind of our test bed from when his order was placed to when the transition started, and his order went out, and it was like kind of the first one to go through the whole cycle, and he was super happy. But we have a heavy growth mindset focusing on our chassis. SpeedTech is rooted in a heritage of performance, and that's how I got thinking about it with the Optima series. They've been participating in the Optima series one way or another for, I'd say 10 years at least,
far predating QA1.
And if you think about it,
predating myself.
We did one of our very first events before the series even started. And it was called the Face Off at Road America, and it was actually presented by Detroit Speed. So it goes all the way back. We've had an association with you and your brands since the very beginning of Ultimate Streetcar.
Yeah. And, I saw pictures of Jay Weir, who was one of our previous owners, driving the white and black C10, with an Optima sticker on the door and things.
Yeah.
And that, again, that was before I was ever with the brand,
Sure.
so we're talking a decade worth of SpeedTech Direct. And then, one of our other sister companies that I failed to mention is, after a year of us being with QA1, the opportunity to bring Detroit Speed in the fold came upon us, and decided to do that as well. And so just over a year ago, we purchased Detroit Speed, which, Kyle Tucker did such an amazing job with that company. Like you said, for decades. He was he himself, I would consider one of the founders in the performance side of the pro touring market. He's such a good guy and such a knowledgeable guy. And so we brought them on, and people always ask us, hey, how do you guys have 3 brands that all do the same thing? That's whether we're at SEMA or as people call us or whatever. And so we really have positioned our brands knowing that we all do something similar, but all accomplish the same goal, if that makes sense at the end of the day.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
I had this conversation with more than a few people.
Yeah.
But Dave Cass in particular.
Yeah.
And I think we've all probably known Dave forever. I live 3 hours from Dave's front door.
Oh, cool.
Near Lakeville. And I'm just a fan of good people. So QA1 is good people. So when they decided to own SpeedTech, I understood that. All right, cool. You want like the premium chassis. I totally get it. Bringing Detroit Speed in, I assumed was like ready to rumble territory. So like, we're just going to let these duke it out, see which one wins. Whoever's left is bloodied and dead. That's not the plan. There are different customers for different products, and they want to serve them all. Detroit Speed is a very OEM bolt-on fitment. It's Kyle Tucker's design, right?
Yeah.
It's still amazing. SpeedTech, you want to go fast and win. And then QA1 has a little bit of offering for everyone at a usually a more affordable price.
Yep.
Because it's designed for that. So they all play perfectly well together. I would not say I have the guts to have done that, but they do.
Yeah, I mean, Melissa and Travis, they're the owners of QA1 brands. They have a very growth mindset, and they're not afraid to make some waves to get there. They have a vision of what they want, and they're achieving it. And you worded it probably better than I could. Of what we're aiming for. QA1 is such a great everyday man's kind of part, bolt-on parts for a factory chassis with amazing shock absorbers, and they're continuing to develop more and more products, and all the different platforms and things that they offer things for. Detroit Speed is precision, high quality, like you said, OEM type stuff with their hydroform subframes and whatnot. And then, SpeedTech, again, we took the white page approach, and we designed, with helps of others in the industry years ago, what we call our extreme front geometry, which allows for over 30 degrees of steering on a first-gen Camaro with a 315 wide tire.
Yeah.
Like, nobody else in the industry can give you that with off-the-shelf parts. That's what we sell every day. It's not modified for the race cars. And then we've designed our IRS, and we have our torque arm, things like that we've had a lot of success in the Optima series with, and Good Guys, and other grassroots and performance markets. And so to say that QA1 Brands is creating a powerhouse in the chassis and suspension game, I think is a fair thing to say.
Well, I'd really like to point out that you guys are genius when it comes to marketing. I've had the opportunity to sit down with you and Dave and Ryan and actually have these conversations about how you're going to market these brands. And it's kind of a natural inclination when people put brands together to do kind of a good, better, best sort of scenario. you guys threw that out the window and you said, no, we are best, best, best. And that's genius. If you think about it, it's like, why would you own 3 products and say, this one is 2 times better than this one's 1 time better than this one? It's just counterintuitive to how you really want to market something. And you guys grasped that and said, we are best, best, best for these 3 marketplaces. And you very clearly defined your audience for each of those marketplaces so that you do have the best product for that particular audience.
I appreciate that. We've spent a lot of times behind closed doors, trying to put together strategies, where we're not completely stepping on each other's toes. And we want to be the best for, like you said, not everyone is a SpeedTech customer. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's a Detroit Speed customer. QA1 is the best product for their customer. And, it all depends on what you want to do with your build. And we want to be the best in that segment.
And that is the genius right there, because so many brands want to say our product's great for everybody. Nobody really has the cojones to say, our product, this particular product may not be best for you, but you guys now have that other best product. This one is best for you. And you've identified that and taken that. And again, just marketing genius on you guys' behalf to do that. And I was telling Rob when we were doing some prep that, I've had the opportunity to work with you on marketing programs and plans in the past. And you guys do it and grasp it as well as anyone. And it's you guys have, when we have sponsors of Ultimate Streetcar, we have some sponsors that are really, really engaged. And then we have other sponsors that are like, well, I'm going to pay to be a sponsor. And then I want you guys to kind of do all the work and give us the stuff back. Right. Yeah. You guys really have been a force multiplier in helping us promote the series, promote your participation in the series. And I really think that helps both of us kind of exponentially do that. And nobody's been more engaged in that process, probably, Cameron, than you personally. You obviously take pride in the participation of this series. Tell us a little bit about how you developed that program and what that does for you guys.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the compliments. We are all car guys at the core, right, at SpeedTech. And I do want to preface, to go back really quick, when I said, things got moved to Minnesota, that's production. As far as the R&D and the sales and marketing and engineering, all that is still in the same building in Utah. None of that has changed. And our core group of guys here in Utah are literally, all of us are car guys. We're not just here for a paycheck. Our engineer, he builds his own cars. He's not just a smart guy behind a keyboard. I've got a partner in marketing. He's into the drift world, and like myself, I'm currently just started building a 68 Firebird with me and my kids. And so at the root of it, we're all car guys. And the reason why I want to make that a point is, one, it's just cool. The Optima series is just cool, and as a car guy, and a muscle car fan, you want to be involved. So for selfish reasons, I just love the series. But for two, on the marketing side of things, when we've developed a performance-based chassis system, the best way to advertise it is the Nike shoe approach, right? You win on Sunday, you sell on Monday. So when we have people like Chris Smith, who's 3 times in a row now the vintage class champion, including 2 years ago being the overall champion, last year 2025 at the invitationals, we swept the podium, right? We had Chris Smith first place, Nick Relampago second, and then Jason Smith in third. And so we pride ourselves knowing that we're making the best products. And so we want to be involved there because it's a big part of our marketing plan to show people, we can't just make these cars look cool. Like, these are meant to drive at 175 miles an hour on a racetrack, if that's what you want to do.
So, Cameron, they got to haul the mail. Right. Yeah. At the end, they can look cool and you can feel good about it, but scoreboard tells all.
Yeah,
Right.
that's your best validation, right?
Right.
Of what you do. You can tell people how great you are. We can tell people how great you are. But at the end of the day, that validation is right there on the
Yep.
leaderboard.
Well, and what's great about it is, to then transition from the performance side of the market is we've taken the validation that we've learned. Okay, if this part needs fixed here, again, under hard braking and doing things like the 3S challenge or autocross or what have you, here's some improvements we can make so that we know not everybody's driving on a track, but people still want the performance driving for the street. You can take SpeedTech products and liken it almost into like a modern Porsche owner. They want something that can say, hey, look, my car has the same thing as Chris Smith's car, but it's never going to see a track. They want the high performance feel. They want, and because, maybe only 10% of SpeedTech's customers actually go on the track. Go back to my Nike shoe comment. Maybe 10% of people who own Nikes actually do some sort of performance movements with their body while wearing them. But they want to be able to say, I have the new LeBrons, I have this, I have that, because look at this cool thing. So that's really what we've developed, is a program like that, where we're doing a lot of our testing as hard as you can push a car legally on a track.
Legally.
Then
Great disclosure.
Yeah. No Mexico driving here, but
Right.
take what we've learned there and then implement that for street driving. And again, we've had a lot of success. And it's all thanks to, it's all thanks to programs like you guys, for sure.
I'm a fan of SpeedTech. I've talked to lots of SpeedTech customers. Todd, who was Todd with the white 65 Chevelle? He sold it.
Yeah, Todd Liebelt.
Todd Liebelt. I don't know him well, but I have a 64, and so I reached out to him and I said, I plan to steal your ideas.
Yeah.
It's not stealing if you tell them you're going to do it first.
Yeah, and he sold it, so it's not my fault. But he walked me through why he was doing what he's doing. One thing that I did ask him is, I said, Todd, how much of a race car is it on the street? Basically, and I'm going to be brutally honest, does it suck to drive it on the street?
Yep.
And he said, it's a performance car. If you have it set on kill mode, it is a harsher car to drive. It is not a miserable car to drive on the street. Do people ask you that a lot?
Oh, absolutely. Because let's face it, anybody who's driven a vintage race car, they suck. Right? They're rattly and they're not fun. They're not fun on the street, and that's why another reason why we love the Optima series is they have to be street legal, right? But again, everything that we run under our cars are off the shelf parts that anybody can hop on our website, quote unquote, and order today. We don't recommend people ordering from our website. We take really a consultative approach with it. But the reason why I bring that up is the best thing about these modern chassis is, like, when we partnered with QA1, we're able to then put in the special valve shocks and things like that they've made for SpeedTech chassis. And you go in and you have your kill mode, click, tighten up your rebound, tighten up your compression, whatever your settings are. Well, then you just reach in and you back it off a little bit for the street, and then you have a smooth, comfortable ride, and we've tested that to the ultimate ability. We've been on the Hot Rod Power Tours for a week. We finished a couple cars 2 years ago in 2024. We rebuilt Roger's Red Z, his 69 Camaro that's been a staple with SpeedTech for the 20 years we've been in business. We rebuilt it, put our IRS in it and things like that. Finished it on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday jumped in and drove from Utah to Pleasanton for a Good Guys show, raced for 3 days, and then drove home without changing a thing. And we did it with 2 Camaros on that trip, and it was a 1,600-mile round trip. So again, to prove not only is it great on a track, you can road trip in this thing without a problem.
Yeah, and that to me is the ultimate experience with a vintage car, right? It looks the part, it acts the part, but it feels like a modern car when you get in it. It's comfortable and you can drive it on the street. I've had the opportunity to do that a couple of times, and nothing is more satisfying than taking your car off the track, being comfortable, even with your wife, your mom, your grandma in the passenger seat, and going down the road, just looking cool, getting all the thumbs up, but letting you cruise down the freeway at 70 miles an hour very, very comfortably. That's the ultimate experience with a car. Now, you guys have really put a focus on vintage cars, right? We've talked a lot about that. You guys, and I'm going to do a plug for your other brand too, Detroit Speed, because we actually created a new vintage class with Detroit Speed in our Drive Auto Extreme series. But Cameron, you were very adamant that when the GTV class came open in Ultimate Streetcar, that's where you guys wanted to live, was in that vintage class. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's our people, right? And the vintage class. So we really, as far as parts wise, we focus on, vintage muscle cars from, I'm going to say a Tri-5. Most people say that's not a muscle car, but when you put a SpeedTech chassis in it with a 700 horsepower, that's kind of a muscle car.
It becomes one.
Becomes them pretty quick. And so, from the mid 50s on up, through third gen Camaro, and then in the truck world, we go all the way up through OBS. So that's what, 98, I think, is when OBS ends.
I think I'm not really a truck guy. Sure. I love them, but I don't know them quite as well as I do vintage cars.
So for GM trucks, we have chassis from 1955 to 1998. So it's a big window that we have these performance chassis for. But, to live in the truck world, it was just a bonus because we have people like Hondo Miller, that he's also finished on top of the podium at Optima. Last year finished second. But to your question, as far as living in the vintage class, that's just our people. That's who we are. That's what we do. And so to be the vintage class sponsor, it only made sense, and we wanted to show our support to the industry and say, hey, we're one of you guys. We have cars here. We believe in this series, that's why we're here as a sponsor, for sure.
There is a wide swath of offering, and as time has gone on, SpeedTech has done a good job evolving, updating product, and adding more. So when it first came out, you'd think it's a great way to make a Camaro fast. Well, now you can make a Camaro fast, or a Chevelle fast, or a Mustang fast, or so help me, a Mopar fast. And I've followed Dave Kruk's 70 Super B transformation quite closely.
Yep.
And it's a big leap, and it's amazing to see a car that big go that fast, that well. And that was before he even sorted the thing out,
right?
Figured out how to handle it, and it was just a night and day transformation. I would say that there's interesting things like the removable cradle. So if you've done a Mustang chassis swap and you want the ability to drop the motor out so you can service, say, a Coyote, you can. And I believe that the same offering is there for Mopar. And then I think, am I wrong here, Cameron? Are there some that you can just permanently weld in?
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah. So we took, this was about, at this point, I'd say the process started, I'd say 4 years ago. We thought, these unibody cars, the F-body GM car with your Mopar, your B-bodies, and then your Mustangs, they were not the most torsionally strong cars ever, right? Everyone was putting subframe connector kits in and whatnot. And we build these cars. And so as we were building them, we thought, you know what? We've literally cut the whole floor out of this car. We're putting in frame brace connectors to our own product. Why don't we just create a whole weld-in chassis that's going to, literally it was just like a light switch kind of moment of why don't we develop a full weld-in chassis? and we started with the F-body, where basically, to crudely say, you cut inside rocker to inside rocker out of the car, halfway through the trunk behind the axle, and then through the whole firewall. So you create a shell. And then you take the SpeedTech chassis and you weld it up in. Gives you our independent rear suspension. And when I say chassis, it still has a dropout subframe. So we've taken that ethos, created a whole floor for it because, again, with a big T56 or some of these other modern transmissions, you have to tunnel a car anyways. So we decided to design a whole floor system that already has a big tunnel that goes all the way to the back of the car. So you're keeping your proper pinion angles and all those things. We've done that for Mopar. We've done that for Ford. You know, again, like to your point, Rob, when you try to put a big Coyote into a little first gen Mustang through the shiny side, when you do that from the top, that's not easy. That's not easy at all. But when you have a full dropout subframe, it's super easy to do it now.
It's like a modern car at that point.
Yeah.
That's why they do. That's why somebody smart figured out, oh, we'll just stick it in from the bottom.
Yeah. Super easy. Super easy to do. And so we took that approach, you know, with it. And so we offer a full weld-in chassis for the, you know, I guess we'll say 64.5 to 70 Mustangs that has a dropout subframe. You know, there's other people who have full chassis for that car, but they don't have a dropout subframe. And it gives you, again, a whole new floor. We've done that with Mopars. Those are, when you're as long as a Dodge Charger or a Super B, you're getting a lot of flex throughout that car, you know? And so we did some flex tests and things when we were building it. And, you know, on a factory car, you could get, you know, an inch of movement, which might not sound like a lot until you watch your door gap do this as you're moving. And then we weld in our chassis and you're not moving. I mean, speaking of David Kruk, love the guy. He's one of my favorite people. And, you know, after he put in his chassis, we didn't have the right spring rates on shocks. There was a bunch of tuning that had to be done, but his car was so stiff, it would wave to you as it come around the corner, right? It was lifting a tire saying, "Hey guys."
Those are famous internet photos right now.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
But it's because the chassis was so stiff and the, you know, the shocks weren't set up right and things. There was tuning that had to be done. But to your point, or, you know, and to my point is we saw a problem and we decided to fix it.
It's pretty sweet. And okay, so there's all that. They fit the part. They're very fast, comfortable on the street. They look super cool, Cameron. You can just pop the hood and everybody will drool anyway. If that's not what most of us are after, but it's nice, right? So
thank you. Well, and again, we all come back as car guys. You know, our IRS, our cantilever design. We actually have a couple ways that the IRS mounts. We have a traditional, you know, hidden under the floor style. But our cantilever design just looks cool. And we came out with that in 2019 is when it was debuted. We won Good Guys New Product of the Year. We've taken it to SEMA a few years ago and took home 4 awards from SEMA. Because not only does it function fantastic, you get over a 1-to-1 motion ratio. You know, we're getting at about 110% motion ratio with that setup. But it's fully tunable, caster camber toe, ride height, all those things, but it just looks cool. And with the Optima series, you know, when we're talking of D&E, when you pop the trunk and you have your cantilever suspension in the trunk, the judges instantly say, check, you know, that's good. And so, you know, they just look cool, you know, and
yeah,
I
more
can't
than
say,
a few builders are making that a focal point.
Yep.
I mean, I've noticed that on a lot of cars. I think I saw 3 or 4 at SEMA that specifically made it visible. I think one even had like a little window you could look down and see it in.
Yes.
Yeah, the creativity that people are getting with design and engineering, showcasing the products that they have, right? It's really, and that's really kind of the purpose of what we're doing here with Ultimate Streetcar, right? We want the cars to be the fastest, the best, the highest performing vehicles in the country, but at the same time, there's an element of look at me, look what we did, and we always built this series with the idea to showcase products and companies that were building cool products for our industry. And man, you guys have hit the nail on the head.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it all comes down to is we drive our cars too. you know. I actually remember back, I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but 2019, Jimmy, I know you, I don't remember, Rob, if you were there or not, but we found ourselves across the pond in Saudi Arabia. And that's how big the Optima series is, right? We've literally driven in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget what one of the locals there said to us. He says we had a display of our IRS there, and he just said, "You Americans are crazy." He was just dumbfounded that we're doing that kind of work into these vintage cars. He himself owned a McLaren. The exotics over there are pretty crazy, and he just says, "This is way better than my McLaren could ever be." He was just blown away by how cool the stuff looked.
Yeah.
Before we go, I know, Jimmy, I know you've got to go, but we have not addressed one thing. Cameron, why do you have a studio set up with guitars behind you?
I was hoping someone was going to ask that question, because if you weren't, I was going to.
Yeah. So I've played guitar my whole life. I'm still just mediocre at best, but I collect them. This is how many are here? 1, 2, 7. I think I counted the other day. I think I'm up to like 30 guitars, but
Wow.
I build them also. I don't know how far with the cropping of the stuff, how far you can see this way, but this guitar, this was my high school senior woodshop project. Whoops. And I built it to the truck that I mentioned my dad and I built when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. So it's a 66 Chevy C10. So I built this. So you see
look at that.
It matches the truck.
The truck was my grandpa's truck. He bought it and got it in, I believe, November of 65. And then he passed away just a few months into 1966. He was only 33. My dad was 11. And so this truck I just got cold chills.
Wow.
I'm about to get emotional, but this truck is our connection to my grandpa. And so when I was 17, a senior in high school, I had to build something for my senior project. And I thought, well, I want to give building a guitar a shot. So I painted, this is the exact paint that we painted the truck with. Same, I went to the painter who painted it and he still had the cans. They were still good and usable. So this is the same paint. But, the 66 Chevys have this stripe on them and everything. My grandpa's nickname was Gap. So I put, Gap's 66 on here. And then it has the wood bed. So wood with the chrome slats on either side. So I left that exposed wood. And then
holy cow,
did the Chevrolet that's like on the tailgate. And then this strap I made, this is the actual material we recovered the seats in. So I got some of the scraps from that and made the guitar strap out of it. So I've loved guitars my whole life, and so this is really just another part of the hobby for me. Like I mentioned, I'm building a 68 Firebird, and I'm building a guitar to match the Firebird also. It's this one right here. I'm not done yet, but I'm painting it how I'm going to paint the Firebird. In the mid 60s, Gibson came out with a Firebird guitar. So I'm building a Firebird guitar to match my Firebird car. So
is this a hobby for you? Do you do this for others? Like if somebody wanted you to build them a guitar, could you? Or
I could. Yeah, I never have. But this one right here.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say how interesting it is that I've found that all of us in the car industry that are in it at a high level typically have another hobby that we're into at another high level, whether it be guitars or watches or fishing or something like that. We're always in it at another high level. And I think we all have that. I think it stems from that passion that we have inside of us that we just like cool things, right?
Absolutely.
And cars and guitars have gone together for a long time. They really have. If you watch any kind of music videos, and I happen to live in Nashville, kind of the heart of the country music industry and a lot of other music as well. But cars are an integral part of the music industry and vice versa. And I think it's cool as heck. And your studio looks better than mine. Way.
Well, I appreciate
My studio
that.
doubles as an office. I have to go to work every day.
Well, I do just want to quickly say, I get to live the dream, because I was the kid on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings watching Power Block TV with my dad. And I remember when Stacy David built Copperhead, the truck, and then he painted a guitar to match it. So that's been my goal forever, to be able to do things like that. And I was going to point out this guitar right here, this gray one. I built that. I'll just say that's what got me through my divorce, was building that guitar. But
Good for you.
and then I do some acting on the side just for fun. And I played a guitar player in a movie through Paramount, and that I got to use a guitar that I built in a movie.
What movie?
It's a teen movie, right? It's called Winter, Spring, Summer, or Fall. It's kind of like a rom-com type movie. Jenna Ortega, she's the actress who plays Wednesday on Netflix. She's a pretty big actress right now. She's the main character, but I'm in the last parts of the movie as a guitar player, and we shot it a couple years ago, but it was pretty fun.
Nice move, flashing your pass.
That works every time.
It's not really like that.
What? Thought she was the one.
Well, I didn't say that.
You said it with your eyes.
So tell us, what happened? Where are you guys at? Are you back together?
No, not.
So
I found it
We
on IMDb.
learned something. Yeah, that's
2024.
Yep.
Dude, that's pretty recent.
that's
And I just 2 weeks ago was filming. There's a show on Angel Studios called Homestead. Homestead? I might have just said that wrong. I think it's Homestead. But I just filmed an episode with them, and I died in the episode, so that was kind of fun. But
Glad you made it back.
yeah. So that was kind of fun. But yeah.
Okay. You never know how these are going to end, right? Cameron, it's been a treat. Thank you sincerely. How can people reach you both personally and SpeedTech if they need some help?
Absolutely. So, we're SpeedTech Performance on all the social media. I'm the one that actually still runs all of our socials. So if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me there. My email, Cameron@speedtechperformance.com, or my Instagram is Cam, the number 4, and then master. You can, always happy to reach out to anybody, or you'll see me at events all around the country. We go to probably about almost 20 events a year. So I'm sure you'll see me somewhere.
Well, everyone, thank you for listening and watching now as of 2026. Make sure that you subscribe to this in YouTube. You likely will have found this at driveusca.com, but make sure that you subscribe in Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all of your favorite players. Fellas, anything else before we go?
I just want to say thank you. We've been partners with Optima for years and years, and continue, we have a long-term vision with you guys. So appreciate everything you do.
Well, and we appreciate you. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
I just work here.
Yeah.
See you, fellas. Thank you.
Bye-bye.